The storm finally broke. Nicholas refused to let them slip away again. He took Anna and Mia by the hand and brought them not to a penthouse or a mansion, but to a quiet countryside house he had secretly bought, a place with gardens, sunlight, and silence. "This," he said, his voice steady, "isn't about wealth. It's about us. About family." Anna's heart trembled. For so long, she had lived in fear of being abandoned, of losing everything again. But when she looked into Nicholas's eyes, she saw no pride, no arrogance, no mask. Just a man who had chosen her and her daughter above everything else. On the porch of that house, as Mia laughed chasing butterflies in the grass, Nicholas turned to Anna. He took her rough hands in his polished ones and whispered, "I don't want an empire. I want a life. With you. Forever." Anna, through tears, finally let herself believe. She nodded, her voice breaking but certain. "Then you have us. Always." It wasn't a fairy tale, it was something deeper. A story of a woman who thought she had lost everything, only to discover the one treasure that mattered most, love that would never let her go. Weeks passed. Anna and Mia moved quietly from one rented room to another, trying to disappear into the shadows of London. Anna found small cleaning jobs again, her hands roughening once more, her heart breaking each night as she watched Mia ask, "When will Nicholas come back?" But Nicholas never stopped searching. He used no lawyers, no detectives, only his determination. He combed through the places Anna once mentioned, following small traces until one rainy evening, he found her outside a grocery store, holding Mia's hand. She froze when she saw him. Nicholas stood drenched in rain, his expensive coat clinging to him, but his eyes burned with resolve. "Why did you leave?" he demanded, his voice raw. Anna's lips trembled. "Because you deserve the world. Not this." She gestured to her worn coat, the cracked pavement, the life she thought was beneath him. Nicholas stepped closer, his voice breaking. "I've had the world. I've held it in my hands. But it was empty. Don't you see? You and Mia are the only thing that makes it mean something." Tears spilled down Anna's cheeks. For the first time, she realized this wasn't pity. This was love, fierce, unshakable, and real. Anna lay awake all night, staring at the ceiling, Mia's gentle breathing beside her. She realized Nicholas was willing to lose everything for her. But was she willing to let him? At dawn, she wrote a letter. With trembling hands, she placed it on the kitchen table. "Nicholas, I love you, but I can't be the reason you fall. Mia and I will survive, we always have. Forget us. Rebuild your world. You deserve better than ruin." She kissed Mia's forehead, gathered a small bag, and slipped out before sunrise. When Nicholas arrived that morning, the flat was empty. Only the letter remained. His hands shook as he read it, his chest hollow with fury and heartbreak. For the first time in years, Nicholas Grant, the man who had conquered industries, felt powerless. But as he stood there, gripping the letter, he made a vow. "You can run, Anna. But I will find you. And when I do, I'll prove to you that love is worth more than gold." The battle for their future had only just begun. The backlash came harder than Anna ever imagined. Within days of Nicholas declaring his choice, the board forced his resignation. Headlines screamed, "Millionaire throws away empire for Maid." Investors abandoned him, and his name, once synonymous with power, became a scandal. For Anna, the guilt was unbearable. She overheard whispers in the street, saw the mocking smiles of strangers. At Mia's school, other parents whispered, "That's the maid who destroyed Nicholas Grant." That night, she confronted him, her voice shaking. "You've lost everything because of me. I can't let you throw away your life." Nicholas's response was quiet, but unshakable. "My life was an empty empire before you. Now it has meaning. If this is ruin, then I welcome it." But Anna's doubts only grew. Could love truly survive when the world was bent on tearing them apart? The pressure mounted until even Nicholas's world began to crack. Meetings grew hostile, contracts slipped through his fingers, and whispers of betrayal circled him. Anna could see it. Every time he walked into her flat, the weight of his empire was etched in the lines of his face. One evening, he arrived late, his suit rumpled, his tie undone. He sank onto her sofa, burying his head in his hands. "They want me to leave you," he confessed. "They think you're a liability." Anna's chest tightened. "Then maybe you should," she whispered, though the words tore her apart. "I can't be the reason you lose everything." Nicholas lifted his head, eyes blazing with defiance. "Everything I've built means nothing if I can't choose who to share it with." He reached for her hand, calloused and scarred from years of cleaning. "I don't want polished perfection. I want you. And Mia." Tears welled in Anna's eyes. For so long she had believed she was disposable, a shadow in the lives of others. Yet here was a man who could have anyone in the world, choosing her. But Nicholas knew the storm hadn't passed. By choosing Anna, he wasn't just risking his fortune, he was declaring war on a world that thrived on power and appearances. And wars always have casualties. For weeks, Nicholas kept returning to Anna's modest flat, slipping more and more into her and Mia's life. To Anna, it felt like living in two worlds at once. In the mornings she still scrubbed marble floors for strangers, but in the evenings she shared soup and laughter with a man who could buy entire skyscrapers. But whispers started to spread. One afternoon, as Nicholas entered a high-profile charity gala, the cameras caught sight of Anna at his side. She wore the only evening dress she owned, borrowed from a neighbor, and clutched her purse like a lifeline. Reporters instantly pounced, their flashes blinding. "Mr. Grant, who is she? Is this your new girlfriend? From Maid to Millionaire's mistress?" The headlines were merciless the next day. "Cinderella or gold digger?" splashed across tabloids, her photo plastered on every page. Anna's phone buzzed endlessly with cruel messages. Even Mia was teased at school, children whispering that her mother was buying her way into a fairy tale. Anna begged Nicholas, "Please don't bring me into your world. I don't belong there." But Nicholas only tightened his jaw. "If they want to tear us down, let them try. I've fought worse battles than this." Yet, in the privacy of his office, Nicholas faced his own dilemma. His board members warned him. "This woman will ruin your image. Investors are nervous. Choose the company or her." The war had begun, between love and reputation. From that day, Nicholas returned more often. Sometimes with gifts, sometimes with nothing at all, just his presence. Mia grew attached to him quickly, her innocent laughter echoing in the apartment whenever he arrived. But Anna struggled. Part of her longed to trust him, to believe this wasn't a game. Yet fear gnawed at her. What if he leaves like the others? What if he breaks Mia's heart? One rainy evening, the three of them sat together eating soup Anna had prepared. Nicholas tasted it, paused, and said softly, "This is better than anything money can buy." Anna laughed bitterly. "It's just soup." He looked at her then, eyes steady. "No, it's home." The words shook her. No one had ever called her life, her struggles, her cracked hands, her tiny apartment, a home. But in his tone, there was no mockery, only sincerity. Later that night, after Mia went to bed, Nicholas stood by the door, slipping on his coat. He hesitated, then turned to Anna. "You've given me something I thought I'd lost. A family." Anna's breath caught. She wanted to reply, but fears sealed her lips. After all, how could a maid and a millionaire ever truly belong together? And yet, in her heart, the seed of hope had already been planted. It was a Saturday when Nicholas made the choice that would change everything. Instead of summoning Anna to his penthouse, he appeared at her small flat, shocking her to the core. She opened the door in disbelief. Nicholas Grant, the man who owned skyscrapers and companies, stood awkwardly in the narrow hallway of her peeling-walled apartment, holding a small paper bag. Inside were pastries from one of London's most exclusive bakeries. Mia peeked out from behind her mother, wide-eyed. Nicholas crouched down, his polished shoes creaking on the old floorboards, and offered her the bag. "These are for you," he said gently. Mia studied him suspiciously at first, but when she saw the chocolate croissant, her face lit up. She laughed, a sound so pure that Nicholas felt something stir inside him he hadn't felt in years. For hours he sat with them, sipping tea from chipped mugs as if he belonged there. He listened as Mia chattered about school, about her teddy bear, about her dreams of visiting Paris. And when Anna watched him help Mia with her homework at the tiny kitchen table, her heart twisted. For the first time, Nicholas wasn't a millionaire, and Anna wasn't a maid. They were just a man, a woman, and a little girl, a glimpse of the family Anna thought she'd never have again. A week later, Nicholas invited business partners to the penthouse, men in expensive suits, their laughter loud, their arrogance louder. Anna arrived to clean, but the moment she stepped inside, the room shifted. One of the men, already half drunk, sneered when he saw her. "Grant, you keep strange company. What's she doing here? Shouldn't a maid enter through the back?" Laughter erupted around the table. Anna froze, her cheeks burning. She bent her head, desperate to disappear, but before she could retreat, Nicholas's voice cut through the noise like steel. "She doesn't enter through the back because she belongs here more than you." The room fell silent. Nicholas's eyes were cold, his jaw set. The drunken man stammered something, but Nicholas leaned forward, his voice sharp as a blade. "If you can't respect my guest, you don't belong in my home." Guest. The word rang in Anna's ears like thunder. The men exchanged uneasy glances, muttered apologies, and turned away. Anna stood frozen, her heart racing. She had been humiliated countless times before, treated as invisible, but never had anyone defended her like this. When the guests finally left, she whispered, "Why did you do that?" Nicholas met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "Because you deserve more than the world gives you." Her walls trembled. For the first time in years, she felt like someone saw not just her struggle, but her worth. And that terrified her more than anything. After Nicholas discovered Anna's secret, he began showing a strange kind of interest. It wasn't pity, it was something sharper, more deliberate. One afternoon, as Anna finished polishing the glass balcony, he placed a sleek black card on the table. "Take this," he said. "It will cover your daughter's schooling. No child deserves to grow up with closed doors." Anna's heart leapt. Mia's school fees haunted her like a nightmare. But pride and fear twisted inside her. She shook her head violently. "I can't. I won't let her grow up thinking her mother survived by taking favors." Nicholas's brows furrowed. He wasn't used to rejection. His world was filled with people who begged for scraps of his attention. Yet here she was, refusing him again. Her voice cracked, but it was steady. "I don't want your money. I want a chance." For a moment he studied her in silence. Then he leaned closer and whispered something that left her trembling. "Maybe that's why I can't stop noticing you." Anna returned home shaken, clutching Mia tightly that night. She was terrified, not of Nicholas's power, but of the storm rising inside her heart. The following week, Nicholas noticed something unusual. When Anna finished her shift earlier than expected, instead of leaving, she rushed off with urgency. Curious, he instructed his driver to follow from a distance. What he discovered shook him. Anna didn't go shopping or meet friends. She went to a small, worn-down primary school in East London. Through the car window, Nicholas watched her pick up a little girl, no more than 6, who ran into her arms with uncontainable joy. The sight caught him off guard. This woman, who scrubbed his floors with cracked hands and refused his money with trembling pride, was also a mother. Later, when Anna returned to the penthouse, Nicholas confronted her gently. "You have a daughter." Anna froze, mop in hand, her heart stopping. How do you know?" Nicholas's expression was unreadable, but his voice was steady. "Because I saw her. And because the way she smiled at you, that's not something you can hide." For the first time, Anna's mask broke. Her eyes filled with tears, and she whispered, almost apologetically, "She's all I have." Nicholas didn't reply right away. Instead, he looked at her as if seeing her anew. Not just as a maid. Not just as a woman. But as someone who carried the weight of survival and love on her shoulders. In that moment, something shifted between them. Something Anna couldn't name yet, but it terrified her as much as it gave her hope. 2 days later, Anna returned to the penthouse, expecting to be invisible again. But something had shifted. The doorman, who usually barely glanced at her, greeted her politely. "Mr. Grant is expecting you." Her stomach tightened. Why would a man like him be expecting her? When she entered, Nicholas wasn't on his phone this time. He was waiting, seated at the long glass table, a cup of coffee in front of him, and beside it, another cup. "Sit," he said simply. Anna froze. Cleaners didn't sit with their employers. But there was something in his tone, not harsh, but certain. Slowly she sat, her hands clenched in her lap. Nicholas studied her for a moment. "You're different," he said at last. "Most people in my world would sell their souls for a smile from me. But you're honest. You don't pretend." Anna felt her cheeks burn. "I don't have time to pretend." He smiled faintly, as if her words amused him. Then he did something that made her heart stop. He handed her an envelope. Inside was money. Enough to cover a month of her bills. Anna shook her head violently. "I can't take this." But Nicholas leaned closer. "This isn't charity. Consider it an investment. I want to see where honesty takes you." Her hands trembled as she pushed the envelope back. She didn't know why, pride, fear, or both. But Nicholas only smiled wider. He liked her refusal. It made her rare. And for the first time in years, Anna felt seen. Anna bent her head and rushed toward the kitchen, desperate to disappear into her work. She could feel Nicholas Grant's eyes on her back, burning with the kind of attention she wasn't used to. Men in his world didn't notice women like her. As she set down the bucket, her hands shook so badly the mop clattered to the floor. The sound echoed in the luxurious silence. She cursed under her breath, but before she could pick it up, Nicholas was suddenly there, crouched beside her. "Here," he said, his voice softer this time. He picked up the mop and handed it to her, his eyes meeting hers for the first time up close. They were sharp, but not unkind. Searching. Anna mumbled a thank you, avoiding his gaze. But Nicholas didn't move away. Instead, he asked the last question she expected. "Do you like this work?" The words hit her harder than she thought they would. No one had ever asked. Not her employers, not even her so-called friends. She opened her mouth, but the truth caught in her throat. Finally, she whispered, "No. But it's all I have." For a moment, Nicholas said nothing. Then a strange smile flickered on his lips, as though her honesty had caught him off guard. Most people in his life, he realized, lied to please him. This woman, with her trembling hands and tired eyes, had told the truth. Before leaving, he said something Anna would never forget. "Sometimes the things we think are all we have, are not all we deserve." Then he was gone, leaving Anna frozen in the middle of the penthouse, her heart racing. She didn't understand why his words mattered so much, but somehow, she knew this wasn't the last time their worlds would collide. The day it all began felt like any other. Rain lashed against the bus windows as Anna clutched her umbrella, her mind weighed down with unpaid bills and Mia's school fees. She was scheduled to clean a luxury penthouse in the heart of London, the kind of place she usually hated, where every corner screamed money she could never dream of. But fate has a way of hiding miracles in ordinary moments. The building was unlike anything she had ever seen, glass walls that pierced the sky, a lobby lined with marble, and doormen who looked at her as though she didn't belong. She tried to shrink into herself, clutching her cleaning supplies, but her heart raced with unease. On the top floor, the penthouse door was unlocked. That was unusual, but Anna pushed it open carefully. She froze. A man stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, phone pressed to his ear. His presence was magnetic. His eyes, sharp and commanding, flicked to her the moment she entered. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low but powerful. Anna stammered. I'm the cleaner. I was told." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then the faintest smile tugged at his lips, as if he had just discovered something curious. She realized who he was. Nicholas Grant, the millionaire entrepreneur, known across the business world, his face on magazine covers. A man so far out of her orbit, it felt surreal to even be breathing the same air. Anna lowered her gaze, embarrassed by her cheap uniform and weary posture. But Nicholas didn't dismiss her. Instead, he watched her carefully, almost thoughtfully. She didn't know it yet, but this accidental meeting would ignite a chain of events that would change her life, and Mia's, forever. The alarm rang at 4:30 a.m., shrill and merciless. Anna's body ached before she even sat up. She slipped into her faded blue cleaning uniform, its fabric rough against her skin, and tied her hair into a tired knot. In the tiny kitchen, she sipped cold tea from a chipped mug, the only thing she could afford instead of breakfast. Her daughter, Mia, stirred on the sofa in the living room. The little girl had outgrown her blanket, her small feet poking out as she hugged a worn teddy bear missing one eye. Anna kissed her forehead gently, whispering, "Sleep a little longer, darling. Mama will be back soon." The bus ride across London felt endless. Through the fogged window, Anna watched the city come alive, businessmen with polished shoes, women in designer coats, students laughing with coffee cups in hand. They looked like they belonged to another world. By 6 o'clock, she was already on her knees in someone else's mansion, a palace of glass, marble, and chandeliers that sparkled like stars. She scrubbed the floor until her hands stung, her reflection distorted in the polished tiles. Every object she touched whispered wealth she would never have. At night, she returned to her cramped apartment with peeling wallpaper, where stacks of overdue bills covered the kitchen table. She tried to smile for Mia, reading her fairy tales about princesses and castles, though inside she felt like those stories belonged to another universe. When Mia finally fell asleep, Anna sat in the dim light of a weak lamp, staring at the red-stamped letters, "Final Notice. Debt Collection." Her chest tightened, her hands shaking as she whispered into the silence, "How much longer can I hold on?" Her eyes burned with tears, but somewhere deep in her chest, a stubborn flame refused to die. She didn't know how, but she promised herself she would fight, for Mia, if not for herself. And yet, she had no idea that within a year, her life would turn upside down. That her world of scrubbing floors and hiding from collectors would collide with a world of power, money, and a man whose presence would change her destiny forever. The storm was coming. She just didn't see it yet.